Cooper and Mero are your global FNCS champions, and in today's video, we're going to break down how they ended up getting back-to-back second places, which allowed them to run away and dominate this tournament en route to winning a massive $1 million. Cooper and Mero landed at Rumble Ruins for this entire tournament, and fortunately for them, they were uncontested off spawn the entire time, which really allowed them to capitalize on the strengths of this POI. The biggest strengths at this POI are the quick brick and metal all around, as well as the fact that there is an AI boss that spawns a key card, which allows them to get a vault for additional shield. Cooper is going to take advantage of this a little bit later on. The most important aspect at this level of competitive Fortnite is management of Surge, and it is clear Mero and Cooper had a fantastic plan. As Mero farms around the POI and gets the flag for additional loot, Cooper goes up into a 1x1 and looks for Surge tags on teams all around the POI. He gets a couple tags onto Sphinx and then ends up trading a bunch of Surge for most of the early game with Hen and Bask to the west. After trading with Hen and Bask, Mero and Cooper are then going to execute the second part of their Surge management. They're going to leave the high ground position in their POI and rotate towards the edge where there's slurp plants. When they take a lot of damage, they can simply just refarm and get their shield back up without having to use any of their heals. This is also a fantastic way to manage Surge when trading. However, once they build up a box above the Surge plants, they decide to play for Island, which is going to be incredibly massive for the rest of their Surge management. Instead of staying in the 1x1, they immediately decide to fly up to the island, but don't even bother contesting it because they care more about Surge than the 15 points. They're going to invest a ton of brick and refarm it all along this entire side of the island, which gives them a ton of angles to look at the lobby down below for Surge. They also claim the vault, which gives them more additional heals that they can use to trade Surge. After claiming all of the space and loot on top of the island as well as the launch pad, Cooper does a good job of getting a couple tags on teams below, rotating into zone, as well as getting a ton of damage on Batman, Booga, and Rapid, who are also doing the same strategy of using the island for Surge. After this, they're going to immediately rotate using the pad to get to front side of zone and to look back for teams that are rotating a little bit later. Fortunately for Mero and Cooper, they get a very favorable pull, and they are easily able to tarp in, expending very little to no materials. Cooper and Mero are still not the greatest on Surge, but Cooper hits a massive 135 pump onto this opponent and pretty much manages their Surge for the rest of the endgame. In the first moving zone, it is important to pay attention on how Mero and Cooper rotate with the rocket ram here. They immediately both face each other, which allows them to minimize the amount of builds that they break when they activate their rockets. Take a notice how they land here. Instead of landing frontside, they land immediately in Storm on the edge of zone to ensure they do not get grief, and Cooper uses some mats to tarp ahead and gets them established, essentially garnering a free rotation. Mero and Cooper are running low on materials, and they know that they need to start looking for a refresh soon. They do the exact same rocket ram technique, facing each other, and immediately this time go to frontside low of zone to hopefully pick up teams that are shambles. Once they get established, take a look at this fantastic play from Cooper. He edits a 6-tile pre-edit and immediately has Mero jump on the opponent's wall when they are fighting another team. They end up picking up one. The fortunate thing for that team is server performance had a clear impact on this fight, but Mero capitalizes and they get a double refresh in the middle of moving zones. After Cooper gets them established, creating a ton of space for them to operate in, Mero goes in the back of their tarp and gets a free pickup onto Dukes, who is trapped in a cone. After this, Mero is going to go incredibly huge. He does get a little bit separated from Cooper, but after healing up a little bit, he's going to make the play of the game. He's going to cross all the way from left side of zone to right side of zone and eventually cut off the team that was dominating on low ground. This is going to essentially ensure their survival for the rest of the game, as you're going to see. Because of this cutoff, they're able to do a ton of damage to Pollo and Sphinx. After this, Cooper jumps down and gets into an elimination on Pollo, however makes a minor mistake of not using the last couple of builds to place a wall, and he ends up getting one pumped. Mero is going to make a really nice play though. He's going to immediately slide down the mountain and place a floor above his head, but he catches Seti off guard after he mantles up, hitting a hard pump shot and cleaning up the elimination. Mero is thus granted amendments, and this should end up being a free win. However, unfortunately, Mero ends up scuffing a little bit mechanically and is unable to mantle while Sphinx is in storm, and Mero ends up falling to his death, even though he could have just sat in zone and played his med mist on top of the builds. After that second place, they're ready to build off that performance and continue their high placement. And in game number 2, they do pretty much the exact same thing off spawn. Cooper ends up opening the vault while Mero ends up collecting materials, and Cooper goes on top of the Aryan Rumble ruins with a little bit of variation. This time he uses bushes instead of building up in brick. And in this game, Cooper does a way better job of farming the teams around him for Surge, even picking up an elimination onto Polarize. They execute the exact same plan they did in game 1 to manage their Surge just outside of their POI. They head to the edge and immediately go towards where a Cert plant spawns, immediately building a brick box a couple layers above, where they have good information and elevation to see other teams. But because this time Cooper has done such a fantastic job of management of Surge, they don't have to head towards the island, even though the island spawned directly right on top of their POI. This is going to allow them to get advantageous position early without them having to expend too many materials or health and utility. Fortunately for Mero and Cooper, after establishing on the edge of zone, they get a very favorable pull and are able to quickly foot rotate once again to the edge and elevate a little bit on the mountain. Take a quick notice of their positioning after foot rotating out of their POI. They do not pressure themselves to go any further than really past edge zone. This is due to the fact that they have rocket rams and they can make any rotation possible since they have that fantastic utility item. This ensures they will not be farmed for Surge and have their materials and health and HP dwindle. After getting established, they once again use the exact same rocket technique that they've been using the entire time, but look at what Cooper does here that is incredibly intelligent. Before using the rocket ram, he places 2 ramps outside of his box to ensure that if anybody behind him looks at him, they're going to have to shoot through the brick first instead of getting free LOS on him. This allows him to essentially take no damage as he rotates toward the far zone, and they get established once again, taking no damage on this rotation. After they get established, they do not have a lot of materials to work with, and the obvious flaw of their drop spot is the fact that they don't have a ton of metal there. However, when you have Mero on your team, you have the confidence to eliminate any opponent, and that's exactly what happens here in this mid game. Cooper sees this opponent, box up just ahead of him, they immediately double spray, and fantastic aim allows them to get a double headshot and a free elimination onto Ritual, thus getting the much needed refresh they need to continue this endgame. After the refresh, they use the same rocket technique to establish themselves in zone, and they also get another fortunate pull, once again using the same rocket technique to get them to frontside low in zone, and this is where they're going to stay for the rest of this game. After getting established, they immediately foot rotate towards this little cabin on low ground. Fortunately for them, Rise W keys rapid right in front of their eyes, and they are actually fortunate enough to get that refresh just by claiming the cabin. They also are blessed with a fantastic zone pull right back into their old tarp. They're going to play low ground beautifully here. Cooper is going to use what little mats they have left to get them established and immediately try to look for refreshes. Unfortunately for them, there really is no players on their side, but they're going to take advantage of this. Since they are on the edge of zone, they immediately skirt the edge and cut off the teams that are in front of them, claiming front side low in the middle, thus being able to recycle this old tarp. After recycling the tarp, they notice Rise is 1 layer above them on a weak build, and they immediately spray him down, getting a free refresh on this low ground. They once again do the exact same thing that they've been doing the entire time and hug the edge of zone, thus getting free rotation without taking any damage and claiming a ton of space. After once again claiming the low ground on front side, they notice a solo on the backside, which happens to be Malibuca, and they simply just barrel stuff them with their ARs and get a free elimination and refresh onto him. After picking up that elimination, they continue to rotate on the low ground, but they are unfortunately cut off by G-Ras and Chari. Take a look at how they eventually approach this fight. They immediately try to barrel stuff them, and Mero does a fantastic job of realizing that they're getting pressured on top, building above a floor and a cone, even while fighting a team on the same layer. Cooper's going to go huge here and change up the angle, thus giving Mero a free angle to get an elimination. After he picks up that elimination, he makes sure to get the refresh and smartly just tanks what he has in the water, hoping to get it to a 1v1, and that's exactly what happens. Unfortunately though, Mero runs out of materials in the water and goes down in another second place. After the second place performance, Mira and Cooper never ever relinquished the first place spot for the rest of the tournament, and they had pretty much things wrapped up in game number 5. They won with a massive margin of victory of over 60 points, and they each won $500,000 individually for a total prize of $1 million cumulatively. Well guys, that's going to do it for today's VOD review. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please drop a like on this video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on post notifications. And I hope I'll be seeing you in the next one. Peace.